Peace, peace, peace. Dre Johnson here. Once again, morning breakfast coming to you at whatever time it is. You know, we went over Genesis 1, verse 1. We're going to go over Genesis 1, 2 real quick. And let me share what I got from it as I read. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. It says other things, other places. But what we're going to go over right now is, first of all, when we talked about before how they changed words, took out words, replaced words, added words, all that good stuff. Perfect example is right here, because in this version it says, and the earth was without form. In the original versions, it says the earth became void and without form. So what was it before? And I'm going to show you something else where they removed the scripture from Jeremiah from Genesis. And I don't know if that was one scripture and they started moving stuff around and started Jeremiah from Genesis, or was Genesis a part of Jeremiah and vice versa, or what? But remember, I said it. It said earth was without form, when it should have said became without form. You know what I'm saying? Became void. But if you look at it, the word void, the definition for that is being without foundation or force in fact, truth, or law. Invalid is a synonym for it. Ineffective, useless. If you look up ineffective, that means not producing any significant or desired effect. Useless means not fulfilling or not expected to achieve the intended purpose or desired outcome. So that means the earth was created and had a purpose. There was purpose on earth. But things on earth didn't happen as intended, as the Creator expected it to. So it became void. They say was void. God didn't create anything void. It became void. So everything and everybody that was down here was going against the universal law that God intended. And proof of that, if you go to Jeremiah 4:23, it says, I looked on the earth, and behold, it was formless and void, and to the heavens, and they had no light. That scripture in Jeremiah talks about the destruction of earth. We could go further in it, and it says, I beheld the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. I beheld, and lo, there was no man, and all the birds of the heaven were fled. I beheld, and lo, the fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord, and by his fierce anger. He broke it down. Cities, birds, man, all of that. He destroyed, broke it down. This is in Jeremiah. But it's really talking about that time in between Genesis 1 and Genesis 1, Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2, which they call the gap theory, where the destruction came, the flood came, you know what I mean? Gilgamesh and all of them, and people fled to the mountains to try to get away from the rising waters, start living in mountains, end up getting frozen in the caves. That's where they start eating their women after they ran out of the food that they took in there, and all this other stuff that happened. That's why they found animals frozen in glaciers and the fossils and all that stuff they found later. This was supposed to happen during that time. Remember, all of this is going on before the creation of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve don't come into the picture until later. actually chapter 2, because chapter 1 ain't Adam and Eve. It's male and female. It didn't say man and woman. I broke that down before, male and female. Negative and positive, left, right, hot, cold, dark, light, all of that. Duality. So, real quick, we're going over that. Study that. Because that's something. Another word, that void, it don't mean what they're telling you it means. Like it just was, yeah, it was nothing, but it became that way. You know what I'm saying? God didn't make it that way. It became that way. The people down here start acting a fool, ruining things, and zip, they had to go. That's why when it talks about him talking to Adam and Eve, it's saying replenish the earth. Refill the earth. Do it again. Because maybe them 60,000 years had already passed and boom, destruction came. So we do it again with Adam and Eve. Well, wait till we get to that Adam and Eve, because your mind going to be blown too. A lot of people ain't going to like it, but oh well. We'll see you then. Peace.